Filing status is determined as of the last day of the tax year. On the EA exam, that year-end snapshot is everything. If you're unmarried or legally separated under a final decree on December 31st, you're treated as not married for the whole year. If you're still married on December 31st, even if you lived apart, you're generally in the married bucket. There are 5 filing statuses: single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, head of household, and qualifying surviving spouse. A taxpayer might qualify for more than one, and you pick the one that produces the lowest tax. But don't mix up single with living alone. Single is a legal status based on state law: unmarried, divorced, or legally separated. Single filing status applies if, on the last day of the year, you're unmarried or legally separated or divorced under state law. The exam loves the phrase decree of divorce or separate maintenance. If it's final by year end, you're not married for federal tax. If it's not final, like an interlocutory decree, you're still married. Married filing jointly is usually the best deal. You combine income and deductions on one return, and you can file jointly, even if only one spouse had income. But MFJ is an election. Both spouses must agree and sign. If one spouse won't file jointly, you don't get to force it. You default to married filing separately unless another status applies. A classic trap is common law marriage. If the couple's state recognizes it and their facts meet the state standard, like holding themselves out as married, then the IRS treats them as married for filing status. So they can file MFJ or MFS, even without a marriage license. Always anchor to: is it a valid marriage under state law? Married filing separately is for taxpayers who are married but either choose separate returns or can't get the other spouse to file jointly. The big exam idea: a joint return requires both signatures. MFS can protect refunds or limit responsibility to your own tax, but it often increases total tax compared to MFJ. Still, sometimes it's the only workable option. One more high-yield rule: changing from MFJ to MFS is generally not allowed after the due date of the return. So if a couple files MFJ and later regrets it, they typically must switch before the original filing deadline. There's a notable exception when a personal representative for a deceased spouse changes the decedent's return up to 1 year after the deadline. Now the spouse death rules. In the year a spouse dies, the surviving spouse can generally still file MFJ with the deceased spouse, as long as the survivor hasn't remarried by year end. After that, qualifying surviving spouse can apply for the next 2 years if there's a qualifying dependent and no remarriage. If the survivor remarries in the year of death, the decedent's final return can't be MFJ. According to the IRS, which factor does not weigh in favor of the IRS approving equitable relief? Choices include abuse by the spouse or former spouse, poor mental or physical health when the return was signed, or relief requested, the requesting taxpayer still living with the spouse, or none of the above. Think about it. The correct answer is the taxpayer requesting relief still living with his or her spouse. Living together is generally an unfavorable factor, not a favorable one. A tempting wrong choice is poor health, because it sounds negative, but for equitable relief, it can support the taxpayer's request, so it weighs in favor of approval. Marcus's wife moved out on November 1st, 2023, and hasn't returned. Marcus pays all the costs of keeping up the home for himself and his 6-year-old dependent child. His wife won't communicate, and he can't get her signature or income information. He hasn't filed for divorce. What filing status should Marcus use? Married filing jointly, married filing separately, head of household, or single? Think about it. The correct answer is married filing separately. Marcus is still married because there's no final divorce or legal separation by year end, and he can't file a joint return without his spouse's consent and signature. Head of household is tempting because he supports a child, but the question doesn't give the facts needed to treat him as unmarried.